Good morning, everybody. It is 11 a.m. on the dot, so we're just going to get started and hopefully not take up too much of your time this morning, but we appreciate you being here to we're going to share some highlights of the RFP, and then our partners at KU are going to walk through how to apply via the Kansas Common App portal. And then we'll let you be on your way. Please feel free to put any questions in the chat, and we'll monitor those. Um, or raise your hand, and we'll take them verbally too. This will be recorded and posted to the ECBG RFP website. Sounds like early next week, so at the very latest. So even if there was something you may have missed, it will be recorded, and you can view it at any time while you're working on your application. All right, so we are just going to start with eligible applicants. These are the three categories of organizations that are eligible to apply. If you do not fall in one of those categories, you are welcome to partner with an organization in one of those categories as either a funded partner and non-funded partner. Funded partners, and I just want to go over this for clarity. Those are organizations that will provide the early childhood services being proposed on behalf of the applying organization. So, like for example, you could be the organization that gets a collaborative together of early childhood service organizations, and then provide those service organizations some sub-grants of the ECBG funds that if you were awarded to those. So they would be your funded partners. Your non-funded partners are community organizations or providers whom the applying organization or their funded partners will be delivering the proposed services to. So this would be if you want to go support some child care centers or home-based child cares in your community, then those centers, those child care centers would be your non-funded partners. So either type of partner will need a collaborative agreement signed and uploaded to your application. This assures us that all parties are committed to the requirements of the ECBG funding if awarded to you all. You must use the collaborative agreement provided. And I'm actually going to pop that up here. Let's see. Can you see that? Okay, thank you, Lindsay. And this is the agreement. You simply enter the applying organization here. And then the partner organization here, and it fills throughout the agreement, as you can see here, and here, etc. So, and then both parties will sign that. You can sign it electronically, or you can print it and sign it, and then upload that to your application. So for funding, there is a match requirement this year of 15% of the total budget. 10% of the 15 can be in kind funds, like donations or whatever that may be. The other 5% or more has to be cash. So all of it can be cash if you want it to be. But the maximum in kind is 10%. So therefore the minimum cash is 5. Indirect costs are capped at 8% of the total budget. Allowed uses of funds include salaries, equipment, training, operational costs, related to ECBG activities. Administrative costs for personnel not directly serving children and their families should be limited.
Christy,
Yes.
before we get too far, I just want to call out the question from the chat. There's a question about how many collaborative partner agreements are allowed?
As many as you would like. You will be responsible for holding your collaborative to the requirements of the grant if funded. So keep that in mind when you are applying. Now that's your funded partners, right? If you're helping several centers or whatever, you're also responsible for the data for them as well. Normally there's in the past there's been less funded partners and then a lot more of the non-funded, if that helps. If that did not answer your question, please let me know and I will clarify better. On the ECBG budget, you must use the provided template. And I'm actually going to pull that up as I talk about it too.
Christy, real quick, sorry I had a glitch on so going back to the match, you can't use state or federal grant dollars as the cash match. It has to be a donation.
I might have to get clarification on that for you, Paul. This is the first year that I've been involved with the grant that there was a match for it. So I just want to make sure I give the correct guidance on that. So what we will do is I will find that answer out for you, and then we will post it in the FAQs on the ECBG RFP page. Then I'll also reply to you directly, Paul.
Okay. In the RFP, that's what it says, but that's
okay.
That's that's tough. That's tough for folks to come up with a 5% cash match. I mean, but I guess if that's what they say.
Yeah, let me confirm that, and I will. We will get back to everybody on that one for sure. Here is the ECBG budget. Please read through the instructions on the instructions tab before you start. You will just hand enter your organization name in this box here, and then that will fill out throughout the budget. That's just so we have it fill out throughout, just so when we're reviewing those, it's on every tab, every page, so we know whose we're looking at when we're looking at one. Each program that you put on the program tab of the application will need to have a program tab budget filled out here. You will enter your name, your name will show up here automatically from that instruction tab, and then you'll enter, if you have a partner, you'll enter them. If not, you can leave it blank, and then the program name. For personnel and salaries, please enter the staff name, or if you don't have them hired yet, the position name here, and then describe their activities and the justification line. We're just asked that you be very specific, explicit about what activities they're doing here, or for any of the budget lines on here, just to be very explicit so we understand what the funds are being used for. Here, and then all of this entered here, you'll be able to see the budget summary here for all of your programs, and then this top row will be summarized here. And there are validations throughout to make sure that you're meeting that cash match or that in-kind match, and then you don't go over that indirect cost. So they will pop up if in red if you aren't hitting something. So that is the budget. When Lindsay goes through the the online application. Some of the things on the budget tab, the budget summary is on that, and that is what we'll use in the grant agreement if funding is awarded. So that's just to be simple but explicit. And then we will ask that you so we also have an at a glance when reviewing the budget application or the application as a whole, that you input some of that dollars from the budget summary tab of the application I just showed you onto the Common App application. And then on the Common App, there's also a place for cash, for where your cash or your in-kind match is coming from, and if it's confirmed or pending. We understand that you may not be able to confirm any funds for this project until you are awarded funds. So that is completely okay if they are pending. So ECBG funds are provided for supplemental funding to fill gaps not covered by other funding sources like state foundation aid, special education aid, federal Head Start funds, etc. So we ask that you be explicit in describing the current sources and services on the community needs tab of the application. You may list the services and gaps by each program being proposed if it helps clarify. And you can also upload financial statements or other supporting documentation showing the gaps in the funding on that community needs tab of the application. So for USDs requesting ECBG funding, they are eligible for both the Kansas Preschool Pilot and ECBG. However, ECBG funds will only fill gaps not covered by state foundation aid, special education aid, Kansas Preschool Pilot funds, etc. So any USD that directly applies for ECBG funding or partners with another eligible applicant to receive ECBG funding as a funded partner will need to complete the KSDE preschool revenue calculator. This is an Excel spreadsheet that will show where the gaps are after state foundation aid, special education aid, and preschool pilot funds have been applied. So I'm not going to show that here because I'm not familiar with it. That is a KSDE Department of Education template, and they have a user's guide out there for it. And there's also a webinar that they will do on December 10th to go over the KPP application, which includes going over this document, this revenue calculator. I would encourage you to either try to attend that Zoom that they're having on the 10th or to watch the recording that they'll post on their website afterwards. And we will work very closely with the early childhood team at KSDE when reviewing applications for both ECBG and the Kansas Preschool Pilot, which KSDE is in charge of. Is there another question, Lindsay?
Yes. So it's okay. A little ways back in the chat, question is, for past ECBG grants, the state has not been open to new projects and only funded past awardees. Is this funding open to new projects?
It is open to new projects. So it is a competitive grant cycle for all eligible applicants to apply for. All right, ECBG evaluation requirements. So by statute, a condition of precedent funding, every program must demonstrate the following for bullets, and there's more to that statute, but these are the ones that we follow the whole statute, but these are the ones that really, in regards to applicants, need to keep in mind. The program's design is supported by credible research. The program as implemented will constitute best practices in the field, and that the data is available to benchmark the program's desired outcomes, and that the capacity to appropriately implement and administer ECBG programming. So to support that, our partners that do the evaluation for ECBG at WSU have a list of evidence-based practices on their website. And I believe Lynn is sharing that in the chat. So you can please use that when thinking about your programming for next year, what you're applying for. That by statute, it should be evidence-based, credible research, all that saying here. And you can definitely read the statute if you would like. It's actually a short one. It's not a long one like some can be. So by statute, we're responsible to make sure that we are evaluating the funds, the outcomes of the funds being used for ECBG programming. So we've come up, the team at Wichita State has come up with the common measures that we use to do that evaluation. So it's a lot. It's a rigorous evaluation. To know, so I kind of listed out here some things that you will need to review in depth while you're working on your application to make sure that you are reporting the correct and required information that we need. So how do you know what program type your programs you're proposing are and what measures that you would be required if you receive funding? So three simple steps, but they will take some time to review, is to review the program types PDF. And I'm going to pull that up here. I thought I had it pulled up already, but I did not. Must have accidentally X'd out of it. Here it is. So pull this up, read through the different program types, and figure out which one your program fits into. It may be more than one, and that's totally fine. And then it will list the common measures that are required for that type of program here. And then once you figure out what measures you need, then you will want to pull up the draft common measures guide. And that is here. This is a draft because there are nuances out of our control that could change within this by the developers of the measures, et cetera. And so that's why we're keeping it as a draft at this point. Find your measure here and then make sure that you are clicking on the link to know what training you'll be required to do, to know how much the assessment costs to purchase. Those have to be purchased using your ECBG funds. In any other training, support, how to implement the measures, et cetera, the frequency of the measures, how many times a year that you'll have to do them, et cetera. So really familiarize yourself with the ones that are listed under the program types for the programs you're proposing. And be sure to budget for that training, the cost of the measures, and the time to administer them based on what you have here. If there's any questions about those, definitely submit them to the through the TA form for that RFP and application, and we will make sure to get those answered for you. So the common measures are set by the evaluation team at WSU based on the type of programs being offered. It's important to make sure proposals submitted are for programs where collection of common measures for all families and children served with ECBG funds is feasible. And please make sure to report programs under the correct program type tab on the application. we'll look at that when Lindsay does her walkthrough, and that you are only reporting programs that will be funded by ECBG. We know you guys probably do a lot of other things that you're not applying for ECBG funds for, and that's wonderful, but make sure when you're reporting on the application that you're only talking about ECBG, what you want to be funded with ECBG funds. Also make sure you're reporting realistic estimates of children and families within the application. If you do receive ECBG funding, you will be expected to collect risk factor data and the applicable common measures for those numbers in the next evaluation year. All right, target populations. So this is an early childhood grant, so it's eligible for children and families with children from birth to age 4, and this is the age on 8/31/25. So if they are 5 on 8/31/25, that means they are kindergarten eligible and they are not eligible to be served with ECBG funds. And the priority should be given to these 8 bullet points here on this slide. 50% of the population served with ECBG funds must fall into one of the 8 categories here. So we've never had a grantee not meet that. It's pretty easy to meet, but those should be the priority is the kiddos and families in these categories. And just a heads up, it is a requirement that the information used to calculate the risk of children and their families being served with the ECBG funds is collected. So we collect all of the data for the evaluation and the risk factors in the DAISY system. And all of so I think Lynn will put in the chat the link to the questions that will be asked for risk factor information to collect that. So just be aware, this is something that's required. If you receive funding, you'll be required to make sure to collect that risk factor information on the children and families. And we're sharing that link in the chat to those questions that will be asked to determine those. All right, so the deadline for questions on the RFP is December 30th. And you can submit those through the technical assistance form. And then applications will be due January 8th by 5:00 p.m. Now, if you have some technical questions when you're trying to submit, something just isn't working right, we will definitely take those technical assistance questions through that form through January 8th. But as far as questions over the RFP, et cetera, the deadline for those is December 30th. The application review period will be January 9th through March 27th. This includes scored external reviews, and then also working with the team at the Department of Ed to review with the KPP applications. And then the grant year, if awarded, will be July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Hey, Christy, I've got a question in the chat.
Yep.
Does the target population still include no insurance for child or caregiver?
I don't believe that ever was. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's just child.
Okay, thank you,
Children
Lynn.
without health insurance.
Is that on here somewhere?
We might have missed it.
You might have missed that one. So that is included. I think it's in the RFP. I'm double checking right now. Yep, it is. It's the very last one on the RFP. I missed it. I apologize. So I will fix that on the slide before we post it. Any other questions?
Christy, I have a question. Is this, if we were to hypothetically aim high with our ask, would you guys consider funding certain elements of that grant, or is this more of an all or none? Will you be rejected completely if you submit a grant request that maybe goes a little bit higher than you've asked for in the past?
So thank you for asking that. That's a really good question. So yeah, we the cabinet may want to only fund certain programs out of a request, and that is their power to do so. So yeah, there is a possibility where you may ask for something and we may say, well, we're going to fund this, but not this. So yeah, that is definitely a possibility.
Perfect, but you wouldn't
And I always-
necessarily lose access to everything if you, if there were a few things that they didn't like in it per se.
Correct.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. And I always say to ask for what you want.
Sure.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Christy, one more from the chat. Risk factor is also missing. Sorry, the risk factor that is also missing is parents lacking high school diploma or GED.
I missed a couple on that one.
We use the same ones that you do, so that's why I know that one's not in there.
Yep. Thank you, Brett. Must have not enough brain power yesterday when I was working on this. So I will get that updated as well. And there'll be 10 categories.
Ready for me to do a quick walkthrough on the comment?
I am. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Great. Hi, everyone. Lindsay O'Ryan here, KU Center for Public Partnerships and Research. Myself and a couple of my colleagues help to support the Common App and the application system where you will submit applications. So we receive the technical assistance requests that come through on the TA form if you're having issues with the Common App itself. I also noted that the slides, I've had a couple of questions about the slides for this training. So we will get the ECBG website updated. I'll post that again here with the recording of this webinar and the slides early next week. So all of that will be available, and I'll actually just screen share so you can see that. So on this webpage, we scroll down on the right under technical assistance webinars. Instead of the link to register for this webinar that we're doing today, we will replace that and have the recording and the slides there. So that's where you'll find that information as soon as it's available. We'll do our best to get that up Monday, if at all possible, and I think that should be doable. So check back on Monday. You'll also note that Christy mentioned that we would add FAQ questions to the website. If you scroll down to the bottom of this page, you can see the FAQ questions that are already here. So you can click to expand. So when FAQ questions, you'll receive responses back to any TA form requests that come through directly, but any others that you might be interested about, you can keep an eye out for updates on the FAQ on the website here as well. Any questions about navigating this page? The link to apply and the link to the RFP and all of the supporting documents is also available on this page. Let me open the chat just so I don't miss anything. Great. All right, so the Common App, again, you can find the link to that if you click apply here, but it's, let's see, Common App. Yeah, it's kind of long. Anyway, the link is on the website and everybody should have that. So this is what the homepage looks like. If you have never interacted with the Common App, the first thing that you'll have to do is create an organizational profile. So that'll pop up. I have interacted with the Common App before, so it doesn't pop up for me, but you can see over here on the right where my name is. If I click on that, I can click on profile. And this is something that you'll want to make sure is up to date for this grant cycle. So make sure you review it no matter what, even if it's not your first time on the Common App. It'll ask you for your contact information, address, zip code, several other things. And this will be included as a part of your application. So make sure that this is all up to date and ready to go. Okay, so if you'll naturally be on sort of an apply tab. I have a couple of other options as an administrator of this, so you won't see manager review, but if we click on apply, and actually let me just go back here because I think this is a cleaner view. There's a couple options. If you scroll down, you can see we have two separate links here that will both get you to the ECBG application. So if you click on start application or apply, they'll both get you there. And the first thing that you have to do is complete the start here page, and that will allow you then to have access to the rest of the application. So if we open up the grant opportunity and we click on ECBG State Fiscal Year 2026, you'll then have to give your application a name. I think it's best for this to be a recognizable name. So your organization would probably be the best choice, whatever the organization is applying. That makes it really clear for staff to sort of find and sort that information. Your applicant eligibility. So for me, I would, put the organization, confirm the eligibility criteria, contact information for the organization, the CEO, and then fiscal agent and federal EIN. I already have an application open for myself, so I've already completed this page, and you can see that I have all of these tabs here. So I want to make sure I'm in the right place. This is my test application that I have open. At the bottom of each page, you have an opportunity to hit save in next or save and close. You will not be able to hit submit application until you've completed all required fields on the application. So make sure that you roll through each tab. These first tabs, project overview, community needs, partnerships, programs, and budget are tabs that everyone will have to complete as you work through the application. Parent education all the way through social emotional classroom consultation is going to ask what types of programs you will be funding for this or utilizing for this this grant opportunity. So at the top of each of these tabs, you will have to answer one question as a starting place. So does your proposal include parent education programs? If it does not, say no, and you won't have to complete any additional information on this tab. However, if you do have this as a part of your proposal and you click yes, you'll then see several other questions that will pop up, and all of those will have to be completed. Make sure that you pay attention to each piece on the question. So especially when we have tables where there's a whole row of data and information, make sure you complete each cell there to fill out that information. The last piece in the application is the acknowledgements, where you'll give your electronic signature to denote that everything in the application is accurate and that you will comply with all of the assurances and requirements for this grant opportunity. And then we also have a technical assistance tab as a reminder for where you can find information to help support your completion of this application. There's a couple of places where you will upload documents. So on the partnerships tab, if you have funded or non-funded partners, you'll have the opportunity to upload your partner assurances documents. So you can select the file, drag and drop if you have any trouble with that. I always recommend turning things into PDFs and uploading. It's the easiest way to make sure that the formatting stays consistent and doesn't somehow get changed as you are navigating between different computers and different programs and files. So I think a PDF is the safest choice for that sort of document. And then on the budget tab, you'll upload your budget file. We have, in addition to be able to find all of this information on the ECBG webpage, we also have throughout the application linked documents and templates that you can access as well. So the fiscal year 2026 ECBG budget can be clicked on and downloaded here. And that is an Excel file, and you will upload that Excel file to this location. Christy, remind me which tab the USD budget is located on.
It is on the childcare and pre-K tab because so yeah, it'll be down there.
Okay.
And if you say that there's a question that asks you if you're working with the USD, if you say yes, then that will pop up where what USDs you're partnering with, and then you'll upload that calculator right there.
Great, thank you.
And there is so because you have to use the calculator provided, there is some guidance, a tip right there in the white box, how to put them in a zip folder. So that one you won't be able to use PDFs. You'll have to, if you're working with more than one USD, you'll have to put them in a compressed zip file, and that link there will give you instructions on how to do that.
Great. Are there any questions, or would anyone like me to go to anywhere specific on the application while we've got it open? So I do see a question, Christy. If we are a USD, do we click yes?
Yes, because you're working for yourself with yourself. Yeah, you're partnering with yourself in that case, for lack of a better term right there.
I have a question real quick. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead, Paula.
Okay, sorry. So if you have multiple programs, do we send it in one application, or do we do individual application for each program?
You will submit one application, and then you will, so that's a good example. If you could click on the programs tab, Lindsay, and then scroll down. Yep. You will, each program, you can add a row.
Okay.
And you'll enter in each program right there. And then you will also want to, whatever program type they are, look at that program type document that I showed you earlier. And you'll complete those tabs at the top of the application that are applicable to you.
Then do you submit one single budget, or do you break it down per program?
Yep, you'll break it down per program on the budget, which has several program tabs that you can use. And Lindsay is going to pull that up now. And you'll enter each program on their own separate tab at the bottom, which.
Okay.
So program 1, program 2, program 3,
Yeah.
they all look the same, but.
Yep. Once they're filled out, they will not. And then the budget summary tab will combine them all together on one tab. And then the total ECBG budget will just show the overall, like for all the programs, what you're spending in each category, and then the cash match and kind match.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It looks like Laura has her hand raised.
Thank you. I'm Laura Evans. We're USD 252. So we currently have KPP with our preschool, but we also have childcare that we don't use the KPP funding for the childcare portion. Would we be eligible to apply for the early childhood block grant?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, a couple other questions. I'm going to jump to Karen's question. Are all the questions that populate in the portal included in the sample application PDF? Unfortunately, no. Because the program tabs that talk about parent education, home visiting, all the different program types have the conditional formatting at the top, and there's a couple of other places in the application. Anything that has conditional formatting where you, click yes and then you see more. Unfortunately, the things that fall under the yes category do not show up on that sample application. So apologies about that, but everything else is there. So you will have to go in and click to see the details for those where the conditional formatting falls. The sample application has most of the things, but not everything. Christy, we are a childcare center that is part of a USD, but not a preschool that gets any state aid.
You are welcome to apply.
Okay.
And I will, yeah, I was going to start answering some of those, but I wanted to make sure there was
Great, go ahead.
nothing. Let me see. Julie asked if we're a USD, do we click yes? And I think I answered that. I think she was talking about the USD budget on the childcare pre-K tab. So, yep. Is there a limit on the months of payroll you can apply for? No, the funding is for July 1, 25 through June 30th, 26. So we will only, if you are awarded funds, those are the only, that's the time period you can request funding for. We are childcare. Okay, I think we are a childcare center that is part of USD, but not a preschool that gets any state aid. Yes, you can apply. I think I answered that already. Do we fill it out as a USD or a childcare center? If the USD is going to be your fiscal agent, you'll want to fill it out as the USD. Last year, we had to be consistent with keeping program one as a certain program. That is not, it's a little bit different than last year. So for those of you that are current grantees and are applying to reapplying to keep your funding, it's a little bit different than last year. We couldn't, because it's not a renewal. We had to do it a little bit differently. So we're doing it by program type. So thank you for asking the question, because I did forget to say this. Please use, if you're continuing the same programming from this year, please use your common measures table as your guide to complete your application out for the program information we're asking for on those program type tabs. And then for the second part of that question about the budget, yes, you will use your programs that you list on the program tab of the application, or as listed on your common measures table for current year grantees as your guideline for your budget as well. Somebody asked, can you apply for this if you received an accelerator grant? And you may, as long as you fall into one of the 3 eligible applicant categories of being a city or county government, a USD, or a 501c3. And then Karen followed up, we may have more than one program under each of the, yes, that is correct. Something I forgot to bring up when we were kind of going through the common measures things. And this is more for current grantees that are renewing. These are just some changes to be aware of for next year. If one of your programs will continue to utilize the Parent Stress Index, the PSI, those will no longer be available through Wichita State. You will need to purchase those, so make sure you budget for those. We also are requiring that the My IGDs Literacy Plus is done on the iPad. We will not accept paper measurements anymore, so make sure you budget. If you need to purchase an iPad, you budget for that. And then class observations, for those that are collecting class observations, those will be required to be done in the fall and the spring, regardless of the quality in the fall. We haven't completely made that decision yet as far as an evaluation team, but we just want you to be aware that it's a possibility. So we want you to be able to budget for it when you're submitting your application, working on your budget. And Lynn, yep, the My IGDs requires 2 iPads, which I believe that is in the Common Measures Guide, but thank you. Somebody asked if they are a 501c3 childcare center, can they be their own fiscal agent? Absolutely. And you will provide on your, and I'm not for Lindsay didn't go over that, but on the user profile of Common App is where you will upload your 501c3 verification. Any other questions?
Hey, Christy, this is Katrina, and I have a really specific question about the PSI thing. I've looked into that before, and you have to have, and Lynn may be better able to answer this. You have to have like a certain license degree thing to be able to purchase them. So can WSU help us navigate that, or I don't know. You have to have like have a certain license to be able to purchase them, is what I'm getting at. And like I don't have it. Maybe somebody in our building does.
I don't know the criterion off the top of my head, but yes, we can help you.
Okay. Because I'm happy to budget for it. I'm just like, if they will let me buy it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we will definitely work through all of that before the beginning of next year. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that it was budgeted for at this point. Any other questions or that we can help answer? If you don't want to put it in the chat or, speak in front of a room full of people, it's totally understandable. You can always submit it through the technical assistance form link, and we will respond to those within 3 business days. Just as a heads up, we are closed next week, Thursday and Friday for the Thanksgiving holiday. So anything submitted over that time will get answered Monday through Wednesday of the following week. So here's a couple. Yep, you can apply if you received an accelerator grant. So examples of supplies would be anything needed to do the measures or anything that if you do to support your program, your services that you're providing with ECBG funds. And then furniture, a lot of that would be like classroom furniture, like supporting the classroom, or if you need it for the people providing the services to your kiddos and the families, like in an office space. Nope, funding. So somebody asked if they are needing the funding before that, can they borrow the money? Nope. So you can only request reimbursement for funds spent between July 1 of 25 and June 30th of 26. Yes, the PS, somebody asked how often do the PSIs need to be done? And is it twice a year? And I'm going to say yes. Lynn can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, she's shaking her head, yes. Any other questions? Well, if not, okay, it's just Lindsay. I saw another one pop up there, and it was just Lindsay and Lynn. Yep. So I'm not seeing any others. So I am going to say we can have 10 minutes back of our Fridays. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing for your communities and your families, and excited to see all your proposals. And I hope you all have a very happy Thanksgiving holiday.